some interesting news. Slowly making our way through the wrestling ranks, and I wanted to talk about it because it's involving CM Punk, a favorite wrestler of mine. And let's go back when he came back to wrestling, to AEW. It meant something to wrestling fans, to Punk fans. It basically was a new beginning, a breath of fresh air. And basically, it was a chance to start over and make everything right. So, basically, he came back. And he's put into this. I'm trying to remember, what was the. Yeah, he was put into a program with Darby Allin, and since then it was various smaller programs with a bunch of different wrestlers until finally it came down to him and MJF. They had arguably some of the best promo work in the company. No, not arguably. Was the best. It was good. They had their first match. MJF won due to shenanigans and help from Wardlow, but it was storyline stuff involving a Wardlow who was slowly turning face. And then it went to a dog collar match in which Punk won because Wardlow would not assist MJF in the shenanigans. And then a few more Punk matches, and then he's challenging for the AEW title. Now this is where it gets interesting. So, he challenges for the title. They go into their match. Punk wins. And basically, the huge crux of the match was Page was going to use the belt in order to win, which was not like Adam Page. And people were questioning if there was going to be some kind of turn because of some of the wording he was using going into it, which we'll talk to about in a second. And then, because of that, Punk was able to use the buckshot lariat to win. Although it did not land well at all. I think that might have aided in the issue with his foot. So fast forward about a week, Punk announces that he has to go away to get surgery. And then Tony Khan announced the same night that he's not taking the belt off of Punk, but rather he's going to let Punk retain the title while being out, but they're going to have an interim AEW championship. Fast forward to Forbidden Door, Jon Moxley ends up winning, which I'm not going to lie, I did not see any other outcome. Now, Moxley had retained against Jericho. They had a pretty good match. And Punk comes back. And then we get to the promo right after he returns. And this is where it gets interesting. The whole segment beforehand where he's talking about Adam Page and challenging him to come out here, and that was not scripted. As a matter of fact, people are saying that he went into business for himself, and for those of you who are not wrestling savvy, it basically means he was taking liberties he shouldn't have and said things he wasn't supposed to, and doing it in order to basically make himself look in a certain light or look better or cooler to the fans, to make the fans more endearing to him. Granted, he was a hometown boy, so that was kind of a silly move out of the way, but Punk is so over, I guess he can get away with that. Come to find out that promo was actually a receipt for the exchange that Hangman and Punk had going into their title match, where apparently Page had gone into business for himself, saying things that he shouldn't have said either. And so when Punk came back and challenged Hangman to start off the night, that wasn't scripted. That was basically Punk's version of saying, alright, you got one on me, now I'm going to get one on you. I would like to think storyline-wise, they're slowly turning the gears for some kind of heel turn with Punk. I really think that could be a good thing, although market-wise, it'd be really dumb. But it's AEW, the land where everyone apparently is an expert on the matter. So, I mean, I'm sure if Punk's involved in some way, they can do something with it. Now, here's where it gets interesting. News had come out that apparently CM Punk is not happy with AEW, and looking into it further, now this is all alleged, nothing has been confirmed, nothing has been said by Punk or Khan to confirm any of this. This is all alleged by hearsay and supposedly what other talent behind the scenes had said, but I guess the point was that Punk was so pissed off at Hangman for what he had said going into their pay-per-view match that Punk was ready to just walk out of the company. And that wasn't the first time he was... I don't know if that was the first time or there was one other time where he had threatened to go. But that right there is a bit of a problem. Because keep in mind, he left WWE in 2014 because he felt like he was undervalued, they weren't taking care of him, and he was fed up. He was fed up on so many different levels. Cut to AEW, he comes back, huge babyface program, talking about he came back for the young guys, he came back for everyone here, and he apologized if he upset anyone. So to kind of hear that news that, you know, he's getting ready to walk just because they're in a company where they're definitely playing it fast and loose with the promos and stuff like that, I find that very telling of maybe not necessarily Punk, but of AEW in general, because if there is no like command or authority there to kind of rein it all in, this is not good. We are essentially could be looking at a huge House of Cards scenario where unless they get control of it soon, the whole thing can go crumbling down. Now again, it's all speculation. But I'm just saying, it's not the first time we see a lot of people tend to go into business for themselves in this company because there is no respect to chain of command. Now, for as much as everyone wants to hate Vince and WWE because it's the cool thing to do, not many people really went into business for themselves in WWE, or at least more than you thought. Like, yeah, there were a few. Like, Nia Jax was definitely one of them, and she rightfully deserved to lose her spot because of that. And I'll argue with anyone in the comments about that. You're not going to tell me otherwise that this woman who not only is going off script, but deliberately hurting people because either she's pissed off or because she's not properly trained in her own right to know when to throw her punches and where to put them and know how not to hurt people. So no, anyone who wants to argue because the girl wants to put pictures of herself up on Instagram and you thirsty incels have to defend her, no, that's bullshit, okay? The woman is out there hurting people. She was given the rundown on how to do the job. She couldn't do it. Simple as that. So getting back to this. Again, there's a lot here to unpack and we don't know what's going on. However, I do find it interesting that more and more AEW wrestlers are coming out and voicing their concerns. Now, here's the thing. I like AEW. My biggest concern with AEW when I first started getting into it, and I got into it right after Moxley and Kingston's first feud. I was getting into it more and more, and I'm like, okay, they got a pretty good roster. And then they started bringing in more people, and more people, and more people, and more people. And then Khan purchased Ring of Honor, and then they started doing their crossover shows, and then they got big names signed over. And I noticed something. This is a company that doesn't really showcase all of its talent on its 2 weekly shows, and this is also a company that really has been dropping the ball on Rampage. And now that's my opinion. Have your, say what you will, but I'm saying obviously you're not going to do as well on a 1 hour show compared to a 2 hour show, especially when your 1 hour show is playing at 9-10 o'clock at night. The market AEW is trying to appeal to is also a harder market to tap into and gain a bigger following compared to WWE, where that's a much more bigger, broader market. So AEW to me feels like too many cooks in the kitchen, not enough screen time. And me personally, I think cuts are coming. I know a lot of people, when they hear that kind of thing, they get very nervous, but have to understand that if you're going to have a quality product, then certain cuts need to be made. I don't know who they're going to be. I don't know if they're going to cut anyone. I'm just saying it's a possibility. They're doing 4 pay-per-views a year, if I'm not mistaken, but they're doing a lot of themed Dynamite shows every single week. They have a huge roster. They have a dark... They're basically their C show, which they stream on YouTube for about an hour or so. And it's like... It's really upsetting because you feel like not everyone's getting their chance to shine, and where it could potentially shine on Rampage, again, you're not given as much time. So, I don't know. I think this is something I'm going to be keeping more of an eye on and seeing where it leads. Now, this could just be a momentary lapse in judgment, and maybe Punk was just having a bad night. Who knows? Or maybe, they're all pulling us in for the ride and they're having fun and you name it, whatever. But I'm just saying, it remains to be seen that more and more AEW talent has been coming out and voicing their frustrations. And with Triple H now running creative in WWE, the bigger question is any of that talent going to want to maybe go back home? So, I don't know. Let me know what you think. I definitely think this is a bit of a wake-up call, something that wrestling fans should be keeping an eye on. I mean, with an open mind, I'm not saying this is definitive, this is going to happen, but based on how it feels like there's very little control of the behind-the-scenes over there, and it feels like they're spinning their wheels and not everyone's getting the proper screen time, I'm just saying it's something to watch. Keep an eye on, and I don't know, for when the bigger news happens, I'll keep you posted.